come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today, day. Success. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
Yeah, we're having a little conversation in the background back here. But welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show. We might be down one today. She's going to try to make it, Dr. Bryant. She's going to try to make it on the air, but she had some things some emergency that she had to deal with.
What emergency she had to deal with?
The kids.
Oh, kids?
Yeah, the Guyanese kids.
Well, I'm Guyanese. They Guyanese?
No, you know what I mean by Guyanese?
Are they half breeds?
No, man. What we discuss about the Guyanese and the Jamaican versus the, they need to know who's mama.
Oh, you mean they need to know who's mama and papa?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes mama's both mama and papa.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
So she's having some conversations.
You mean some licks?
No, she doesn't actually believe in corporal punishment like you and I. Well, you're bad.
My dad.
You're bad. I'm next. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show. I am Roderick Daly, your host, and I'm right here next to the great John Sampson, our co-host.
Ah, shit. He must want something, man.
We got to start putting you in a jar, dog.
Shit is not
it's not as bad as the other ones, but
exactly.
I'll take that one. I won't say it because my mama will
Come
kill
on,
me.
Andre. What are you saying, Andre? I can't use that word. It's a part of vocabulary. It's an American.
There's a lot of word parts of the vocabulary that we can't use.
It's an American dictionary. But it's in the context in which I'm in using it.
But you also have to. So anyway,
what's going on here?
We are dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life.
You're not trying to empower
through
me.
Education, helping each one of us. Are you guys really talking through our intro? All right,
yes.
helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, any point, starting from today. Success is not just spoken; it is done. So, what are you guys talking about?
He's talking about the TikTok. I don't believe in no TikTok.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
So there was there was a therapist that was, she was telling black men to go to therapy, but how she was saying it was what people got furious with, and all. She was dropping, F-bombs, MFers, and Bs, but she said 90% of her clientele were black men. And someone shared her TikTok on Twitter and it went viral. Right? And so everybody started coming, people from different sides. So pretty much, she put a video on Monday, lost her job on Friday. Right? And
but she put the video out on
the Monday and lost her job on the Friday. And someone somebody wrote an article about it. You would have to see the video.
What was it? Cancel culture?
I mean, don't know if it was I don't want to say necessarily cancel culture, but I think it came down to the sense that, one of the things I looked at was, if you're working for an organization, in a sense, really, you don't necessarily own your branding, so you can't go around just say whatever you want to say, regardless if you feel like, yeah, I can be me and all that.
But you have what you're saying. You have to be mindful.
Of
the organization that you represent.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. I'm a teacher in a particular school, and look, let's consider even Dr. Bryant.
Right.
There's certain things that she doesn't want to say because of her affiliation, whereas big man here, it's like, oh, I'm retired, I'm done, I can say whatever and all that. So it's just like,
and I'm not looking for a job.
Exactly. So I think that plays a role.
It does play a role, because you remember your view. You put it this way: the organizations that you represent, your views are not reflective of what their ideology is, but people are always going to associate with that organization. So you have to be mindful of what you say. Yeah, you have to be mindful of what you say.
Create your own.
That's why it's important that you create your own, work for yourself.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, you have to just be mindful, and that's all. I apologize for using the profanity. Those who are offended, I truly apologize.
We're not gonna say, but this time wasn't that bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was for use of indecent, what considered to be indecent language. I wouldn't use the word profanity.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't profanity. Right. I haven't let loose a profanity laced tirade. I haven't done that yet. In a while.
Right. And so I think there's a difference between I think there's a difference between indecent, like for example, if you and I were yelling at each other, right? That's not appropriate, right? But it's not.
We yell at one another all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, like angry yelling, like angry yelling on the ear. It's not profanity. Because but it's not profanity.
I wouldn't do that because you're the head of the head of the board. Yeah, and you can impact some of the decisions, and you can impact.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what bread John is buttering right now. John, what is it that you want me to do at the board? Just say it on the air. You must be looking for me to
looking to do anything.
I think I've told you us out there in the audience that John was is. Right, he's the big dog, right? He's the big cheese.
I am not a big cheese or a big dog.
Right. But
I'm a part of an organization and a group that's called the Village.
Right.
Headed by our co-host, Mr. Daly.
Right.
Who invited me to be a co-host along with Dr. Bryant.
And
Sophia.
But John is like the big boy. He's the man, right? John is the man. John just let me just, ladies and gentlemen, wait.
Tirade is going.
I just want to say something out there, audience. I love John for his humility. Because he's one humble dude. Right? If you know John, he'll take off his shoes if it can fit, and he'll give it to you to wear. That's just John. He's really humble like that. But we all know he's talking crap right now.
You see?
Because we know John is the man. John is the big. Hey, John, I'm excited. I'm excited.
What are you excited about? What?
I'm getting honored on Sunday.
Who honoring you?
Yeah, some woman decided that I was worth honoring. So it's very exciting to have the Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and her mother, Dr. Una Clarke. They'll be honoring me on a boat ride.
Let me tell you something.
And it's sold out. It's sold out.
Let me tell you something. The only reason he's getting honored, let me just tell you, this villagers, is because he can sell some tickets. That's what it is.
Actually, I didn't even sell that many tickets. It was very. I really didn't sell that many tickets. I appreciate all those people who got a ticket, but I really didn't. I really got the notice at
Remember, he's the president of the board.
No, I'm being totally frank. I got the notice late, and I was on vacation. I literally just came back.
So you're getting honored?
Yeah, I'm getting
Why
on.
you ain't invite me? You see, this is exactly what I'm talking
But
about.
by the way,
I ain't getting no invitation.
By
nothing.
the way, ladies and gentlemen,
Now you want to change the topic.
Again,
See that, villagers?
John is lying.
I ain't getting no invite.
John got an invite.
Will you invite that you put in the chat?
You know
it's
what
like
happened?
You get on the phone and say, "Hey, John, I need you to support me."
Hey, John, we on air now. I need you to support me on Sunday. You coming?
No problem.
Right.
I'll come.
Yeah,
I'll write a check too.
Right,
How many? Want me to get a table? I'll buy a table.
Nah, I don't need you to buy a table. I need
All
you to buy
right,
2 tickets.
I'll buy a table.
Dr. Bryant wants to go, so you need to
I'll buy 2 tickets.
You buy yours and Dr. Bryant.
I'll buy 2
Dr.
tickets. You want to go too, Andre? Sophia, you want to go? Y'all want to go? I'll buy the tickets.
See, John. See. I don't think Sophia can go. Where's Sophia? She's not in yet. She's not in yet. Oh, okay, all right. So Joanne wants to go though, but she has to be Guyanese for a little bit. So we'll find out after she be Guyanese. The actual Congresswoman called me back today. Yo, it is. I think we need to maybe get and I know maybe we have to come in a little bit earlier, air it out a little bit. John.
One boss.
The first big thing. There's so many things going on. I'm really actually happy to have Dr. Stevenson back today.
Of course.
To talk about the purpose of man of a man in a relationship and woman in John sounding like a hater. I wonder who wrote that. Sister's Facebook user. So I guess we're not logged in. Yeah, John.
Well, I do not respond to people who can't put their name to comments. I will not respond to the Facebook user. Tell us who
John,
you are.
How you going to buy? Hold on. John, how you going to buy tickets to a sold out event? Don't worry about that. You don't worry about that part.
Well, let me tell you something. That's
why he's the big dog. Kumbaya.
I didn't want to say, but he did.
He's like, yo, Yvette, what's going on, my girl? I need 2 tickets. Right? We good? I'm sitting at Rudy's table. I want to be next to the man. What? My name? No, your name is not there. It's not coming. It just says Facebook user. Oh, Simone.
I figured, hater. I figured it's a hater. It's the hater. The queen hater. The queen hater, Simone.
You feel it, right? Maybe, yeah. So he's not. He's a punk. Don't let me call Yvette and tell you you're coming, and you're not coming.
Brother, didn't I just say if you want me to buy it, I have no problem.
All right, so
it's all about supporting you.
Look, hold on.
It's all about supporting.
Hold on, I'm right. What, ladies and gentlemen, I'm texting Yvette right now. So,
how much are the tickets?
$150.
No problem.
Yo, you hear? That's what I'm talking about when I say big dog. I'm texting Yvette. Look, watch me. Hi, Yvette.
I'm not coming by the tickets.
Okay, so I'm telling her John said he's coming.
I said I will buy tickets to your event to support you.
Okay, just
so give it to who you want to. How much are the tickets, man?
I told you, ladies. How much did I say the ticket was, Simone? What did I say the ticket was? Let me see if you were listening, because John, load the man, make him enjoy my award. Right? Thank you, Simone. How much did I say the ticket was? I haven't received the link for this evening. Oh, that's something else.
Villagers, 2 tickets purchased by Mr. Sampson. Villagers, 100, 200, 300. 2 tickets paid for.
Somebody gonna get kicked off that boat.
You want to pay for my wife's too?
Huh?
Wait. You want to pay for my wife?
Wait,
hold on. I'm trying to see if I can get to pay for my
I
wife's
just
too.
bought 2 tickets. You give me whoever you want to give it to.
You pay what? You pay half of my wife's ticket. How's that?
I just gave you money for 2 tickets. You pay whoever you want to take.
All right.
I need that extra 5 off my
student
loan.
I don't need extra 5.
I'm
not talking about
student
you,
loan.
Let's talk about
See, John pulling all the money there, man.
Yo, John.
That's my rebate money.
That's actually, let's start there. Let's start there with the student loan, because I was called up a couple of times. I got a couple of messages about the student loan. So what does that look like, right? What does that look like for
more debt for me to pay?
Yeah, more. And I keep telling people this. conversation.
But you know, I don't mind.
Right? So, Dr. Bryant, your tickets are. Oh, let me just make sure that the vet said yes. Because then I just used it to pay for the wife's ticket. That's all. Yeah, I'm actually literally look, John. What am I writing? Can you add Joanne's name? John Sampson said he cannot make it, but
I purchased 2 tickets.
But he is paying for her.
And who else I'm paying for?
Somebody else. I can't.
All right, then.
I know who it is.
All right, then. As long as you know.
All right. So, but anyway, but that came in useful. Thank you. All right. Appreciate that. John is giving mood, save some for me. All right. So let's go to the student loan conversation, right?
Sophia, I will always donate to any cause you have, Sophia. Right? Any cause.
So President Biden announced that the federal government would cancel up to $20,000 depending on your Pell Grant, right? So if you're a Pell Grant recipient, you can get up to $20,000. My problem is that I don't know the access route. Does anybody know the access route to this loan forgiveness? Do you just call your loan provider? Is it for private loans or government loans? Which loans are they forgiven? Because I've not seen anything that said which loan they're forgiven. Because remember, there are people who have family loans, personal loans.
There's a comment. They're saying John's money should sponsor a ticket to someone who truly can't afford the boat ride and like to go. So no, Simone, would you like to go? Is that what you're saying, Simone?
Well, you would have to give another 150 because
that's all.
So I don't know if I could add one. She called me. Congresswoman called me today.
Yeah.
I'm asking if Joanne can come. Right?
Well, to get back to the
right.
You know what? It's
so yeah. Did anybody find?
I don't know what the process is with respect to this, but I've heard arguments on both sides with respect to this, capping it at those who are making under 125.
If you want under 125.
125.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people saying, well, why are you going to do that? Because there's a lot of
But Dr. Butterfly would
like Buddha.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dr. Buddha.
But you I send you all
but it's sold out, Doc. That's what I'm saying.
It is sold out.
Somebody just gonna have to lose their seats. The more John gives, somebody But I sent y'all a picture wearing like
it is hot.
The rich. I feel like you're getting cool. But
yeah, it is getting cooler, but it's like it was like 100 degrees. It's like 150 coming down to like about 110 now.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is that if you look even like the people rich, like tax code and all that, and they're doing this in a legal sense. So it's like,
but that's saying those people who can afford to pay that $10,000. And I think what I've been listening to a lot of like Fox, and their biggest gripe is that they feel a lot of these institutions and these individuals are the woke, are the culture canceled individuals.
Hold on, I wonder if I could put the congressman on the spot on the air.
Yeah, of course you can.
To hold my seats. I actually had the right seats reserved, so now can I hold them?
Well, I wouldn't put it on there. Yeah, I would just that's fine.
Nah, I don't know though. She commented into okay. All right.
He's all, but getting back to what we're talking about, bro. Villagers. I think that it's going to benefit a lot of people, and I'm all for that. But I think maybe they need to go a little bit further. But there should be a trade-off, meaning that if I'm going to cancel some of your debt, some of these individuals need to go into sectors in which that can really help the government, public interest, because it used to be a trade-off if you were, certain student loans. If you were a teacher, you went to teach into the inner cities, they were able to cancel those debts. Something similar to like with police officers, where police officers who would go into those communities that, were impacted
So in a sense, you're saying like if you're gonna get the forgiveness, you have to
you have
do
to give
something.
back. Just give back in ways in which you can help and set an example for others. I'm just not letting you I'm not just eliminating this, but at the same time you have to give me some quid pro quo. You have to give me something in return, and that may be I'm asking you to commit to public service in the community.
I mean, I think that would probably be the better of many options.
But I agree. But I think a lot of pushback from Republicans, it's just really they feel a lot of these institutions are just breeding grounds for progressives and socialist students. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't mind if you gave this money to if you gave students who attended Oral Roberts or some of these conservative institutions, they would not have a problem. But those kids who they figure are the woke, progressives, the cancel cultures, we don't need to do it. We're trying to influence them too much.
Right.
Let me tell you something. When you talk about cancel culture and the woke people, I am so sick and tired of these people on the left.
I mean, eventually they're gonna die out.
Like this thing like a Sarah Palin. Because Sarah Palin, her crap. When did she run? 2004.
I have no idea.
No, 2008. It was 2008 she ran.
The cancel culture gonna die. They're gonna die.
I can't. I am so sick and tired of these people on the far left. They are, in my mind, they're the people on the far left, and the people on the. It's kind of like. Let's say a good way to explain it. And it sounds bad when I make the statement. I know a lot of people can get in my case for this. When they got rid of slavery in 1865, when slavery was over,
right?
We're not going to argue because I always said that Emancipation Proclamation was garbage. So we're not going to go through that debate and the importance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they gave blacks all these unlimited rights.
Mm-hmm.
You had the first black U.S. senator in 1872. All of these people elected because it had a cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 1872, he served one term.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw another one for almost another 100 years.
Massachusetts, we have one, I think.
Right. I don't remember what state he was elected from, but he was elected senator. Never saw another one. And I think when you try to go from one end of the spectrum to go into the other end of the spectrum, you lose, because now all of these crap that the left is doing, not that all of them are bad. I'm definitely not saying that. Like, for example, you see the effect now of letting criminals who have excessive records back on the street. Now, anytime somebody gets arrested now, right? Anytime somebody gets arrested right now and they pull up their pass.
Right.
This person had 5 arrests. The person just got out 2 years ago. They got out 6 months ago. They got this. And so now they're making sure, right? They're making sure that the John Poe public, who is me, who's a moderate, right? I'm not a Republican, but I'm more moderate in certain ideals than others. They're telling me this is why we told you should have done that. So now all of these things that they're building up to regain, they're going to lose.
Right.
Just like when you did the when in the late 90s, early 2000s to about 2006 and so, when they did the predatory lending, right? And people were buying houses left or right, and now they can't afford it. So now the bank utterly scrutinize individuals who are getting loans. Right. So now it's hard now for black people to get loans.
Right. Because
they change the system. And so I have a major issue with the left. I mean, congestion pricing. What the hell is that? Below 60. So you're taxing the people to drive their car. You're telling them take the metro system. And I wish Dr. Bryant was here, because she's one of those proponents who says, I'm not taking the subway because of the crimes. So now you're telling somebody who's afraid of taking the subway, but because to go into bankruptcy, because now it's going to be a choice, right? Am I going to go on the train where I am afraid and I'm always jittery, right? Because you don't trust nobody. When you're afraid of anything, you're afraid of everybody. because everybody's out to get you.
Everybody's suspect. Yeah.
Everybody's a suspect. So now you're uncomfortable. You're going to need more psychological help to get you on the train. People don't want to go to work because they find excuses not to go now because of COVID.
Right.
And now you're going to force them to do congestion pricing. Let's think about this. The left has a far more detrimental effect on America than the right. And yes, I'm saying it. The left has because you ask for drastic changes.
They ask for drastic changes. It's unfortunate. They ask for drastic changes that continuously propel people into poverty.
Yes.
Think about it. Think about what they are asking. They want to give you everything. They want government to give you everything. Don't want to pay for it, thus giving us a mentality of reliance on government.
Yep.
And the only thing we asked, we don't want reliance on government. We only want equal and equitable opportunity. That's all.
Simone said yes. She's taking up on the offer, by the way.
You know?
Simone is saying yes, she would like to go. Simone, why didn't you get back to me earlier about saying you wanted to go? I'm just saying that about the boat ride. I don't think I can pull it off, though. I'm going to try. But you're right, though, John. Right? You're 100% correct, right? And the problem is, right? The problem is the people who have to pay for it are never the rich nor the poor.
It's always
what, John?
Always the middle and working class
there
folks
you go.
That pay for it.
Right?
All the time, because there are certain laws in the tax codes that give you an opportunity to avoid a lot of this stuff, which is legitimate, and I would use it too if I'm in that bracket. However, all of these congestion prices, these are all regressive taxes on the working and middle class.
When you finish, you have something to tell you.
Yes, sir.
No, when you're done.
So I can't say no. I can't say no more than that. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, people have their different ideologies about different things. But one thing that I disagree with both the left and the right is their inability to be open-minded and not listen to what others have to say. We may disagree, but in what you hear or being espoused by someone else, there might be a thread of commonality. Mm-hmm. But because of your staunch ideology, you fail to be open-minded.
Stupid ideology.
And listen, I wouldn't say that. You fail to be open-minded and actually listen to what someone has, not someone has, but that may be presented a different point of view. So, you know, this is what I condemn both the far left and far right about. Their inability to just be open-minded and listen to what others people say that you may not agree with, but there is some string of commonality with what other people are saying.
So what I wanted to tell you, right? I was having a conversation yesterday.
Mm-hmm. With one of your board members?
Actually, no. It was this morning. I was talking to Delroy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Delroy. He and I just give him random calls. You know, every so often I check in on, you know, I'm going from one subject to the next, but I'm just thinking like.
That's my brethren, Mr. Delroy.
Once in a while, I go through my phone book.
Delroy,
right? I go through my phone book and I'm like, if these are people I used to talk to, mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't get an opportunity to call them on a regular because you're so busy. Mm-hmm. I just, like once a week, I try to call one person that I haven't spoken to in a while. Okay. I try to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So especially if I'm trying to call somebody else, I don't remember who I was calling. And then Delroy, I'm like, yo, let me give him a buzz because I will not be able to give him a buzz. We had a really good talk this morning. As a matter of fact, I almost got the Benz hit this morning too, talking to him. Because some idiot came around me with his Benz on Linden and Avenue A. He came around me and went through the light.
Wow.
And he made the right on Linden going towards Brookdale. Mm. And so me now, the light is supposed to set like this. but it said a little bit like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, a little bit like this. So this green that's going on Linden looks like it's facing Avenue A. So when I saw him go through the light, I thought it was a green. So I went through the light too. I heard, I was like, so I stopped. But good thing they were doing construction because that would have been smacked. Right. But anyway, so the conversation we're having like this, and we're talking about your words, regressive taxes. When you really think about it, right? When you really think about the regressive tax, right? You think about the red lights and the green lights. I'm not even talking about the speed cameras. I'm talking about the red lights and the green lights. If you notice, yeah, I see him. If you notice, you can't make it to 2 lights, even going at 25 miles an hour. You go to one, you stop, you go to the next one.
Right.
And then they're gonna put a camera up. And what the camera does is if you're trying to make it to the 3rd light, you're gonna get that ticket. Right. But the light is going to be red, but green long enough that if you speed up, you're gonna get a ticket.
Dr. Star.
All right. Hey, Doc. John paid for your ticket.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sampson.
Wait, can you see it? Right there. Right.
I appreciate you, Mr. Sampson.
Right. I was telling him that you were being a Guyanese parent today. Right. He's talking to Dr. Brian. Oh, he's not. Hey, Doc. Oh, we see him too. We're coming on, man. So we're talking about like the it forces New Yorkers, and on top of the mental anguish, and it's in the middle class to low income, not low as in poor, but low as in low middle class, right? All the way up. That they put this because your middle class people have to go to work. Right? Not that everybody, I don't want to say it like everybody doesn't go to work. Everybody goes to work, but middle class people literally need their job, right? Because you depend on somebody else to earn an income. A lot of middle class people, nurses, police officers, firefighters, teachers, workers, construction workers, those people, laborers, right? They need to go to work, and they have their family, and they have to work. So they can't say, I'm going to be 5 minutes late to work, 15 minutes late to work, because they might miss termination. So they purposely create these lights to aggravate and force you actually. Yeah, people are like, oh, why can't you just drive slower? It's not about just driving slower. It's also knowing about your livelihood that's at stake. And when you go into certain communities, the lights work in order. They work in sequence. So you could get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lights going at the speed limit.
But you know what, Roger? Let me just tell you.
That's
something.
what we're kind of talking about.
Let me just tell you something.
I want to add to that too.
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Brian.
So I have to agree.
Wait, is it after 7:30? Oh, doctors. Yeah, go ahead. Finish up.
I have to agree. I'm going to address two or three things, because you asked about the student loan. You asked about the light situation. Good evening, Dr. Stevenson.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. I'm just finishing my thoughts. So
I'm what you got.
You
can chime in too if you want.
I have been in areas where you find the cameras right in between on the block where there's no school at all. You wouldn't find this in an all-white neighborhood. And it's not like a school is. The original goal behind the lights was, hey, we want to slow down people when students are in session. That's not the case when you're having one block across in the middle of the block that you have a camera right there. At the end of the block, another camera right there, 2 blocks over. So it is disheartening that it is based on your income. I would say that. Yes, we do have reckless drivers all over. Well, it tends to be in the area where we have predominantly Black or Hispanic people, minorities. That's that we find more of these cameras.
I just want to jump in on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Doc? It's unfortunate, but my perception is it's because we violate. We are the big violators with respect to this.
Mm-hmm.
You go in these neighborhoods and you see what's transpiring.
Mm-hmm.
Young men, young women just driving out of control and reckless. Initially, yes, I remember when we passed that legislation, yes, it was for schools. It's the safety with respect to around those schools. But then we see pedestrian deaths started to increase. People not following the rule. And one of the biggest,
always the same.
when the bus stops and puts a stop sign, you see people in our neighborhood go around the bus.
Somebody got killed at
Go around the bus. So
School.
you know what?
High School like that.
You know, we think that there is a conspiracy with respect to, you know, government doing certain things. But if you break it down and you look at the statistics, we are one of the biggest violators.
That
And
is
it's
true.
always in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about this is there is a more consistent flow of traffic. Everybody's traveling 25 miles per hour, or within that 25, 30. Traffic flow is a lot more consistent, and it isn't congested as it used to be.
See, that's my argument right there. That is my argument, right? Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. Speed bumps are more effective,
Yeah,
right?
'cause if you're speeding,
Speed bumps
ooh,
are more effective than cameras, but they don't bring in the dollars. Speed
Well,
bumps
wait.
are far more effective.
Yeah, but you know what?
when somebody get a ticket or you see the flash, they slow down. I noticed that.
Of
Yeah, but if
course.
the speed bump, they slow down too.
But with the speed bump, if you think about the speed bump decreases the flow of traffic. Traveling at 25 miles per hour, there's a consistent flow. But if you have bumps, you're going up and down, there will be congestion because there won't be that consistent flow. I mean, just think about it. If we're all driving at 25 miles per hour, there is a consistent flow of traffic. You know, just think about it.
You know
Hey,
what?
Doc Stevenson, you wanna chime into that? Your thoughts?
My thoughts is I get tickets all the time, so I just got to be honest. I don't like it because I get tickets. But here's what I got to be honest. Once I realize where those cameras are,
You slow down.
I slow down well before, and then I start thinking, almost like what John is saying. You know what? Let's use Linden Boulevard because I come in that way, and I've noticed just what he's saying. If there's going to be a jam, it's going to be in the same spot, but everything else is pretty much moving at a pretty good pace because everybody knows Linden Boulevard. There's about 100 lights.
Have you been on Linden Boulevard in the middle of the day on a Saturday, Doc?
Oh no.
Okay.
I tried it. I avoid it like the
plague.
plague.
Take that statement. Have you been on Linden Boulevard, let's say at 3:30, between 3:30 and 6 o'clock any day of the week?
Yeah.
Okay. Those cameras cause problems with traffic. People are coming home rush hour. You can't.
Because everybody's trying to rush and go above the speed and you got to stop. But if you know that the speed limit is 25 miles per hour and you're going to get hit with the camera,
so
you slow down. There's a consistent. There will be. Next time you drive there.
Wait, hold on. When you finish, because I'm going to tell you an exact example of what I'm talking about.
Next time you drive daily, see if there's that consistent flow.
But before we go to Doc, you're our guest today, so you have a couple more minutes than last time, as long as you don't have internet problems. So don't worry.
No internet problems today.
All right. So I'm going to tell you on my block, Doc. Right. So I live between J and K. Right. Between J and I, there's a light. There's a camera. Right. There's one on J going towards my street. And there's one on Utica Avenue making a left onto my street. There's one on Utica going the opposite way towards Kings Plaza. One going towards Church Avenue towards Kings Highway. There's one right there, right? So there's one right around the corner. And then there's one on the next block. This is what I'm saying to John is hogwash. All right? If you drive 37 miles an hour, maybe 38, you'll make it from 8J to catch the light at I to catch the light at Kings Highway. If you drive 36 or 37 miles an hour, you will catch the light. They purposely put the camera there because they know if you drive 36 miles an hour, you will catch the light, and everybody who lives in the neighborhood knows that. So the camera is there. that you go 35 and miss the next light. But guess what? There's no light there's no camera on the other side. Because to catch that light, you can go 28 miles an hour and you can catch both lights. Now tell me if that's not purposely done.
It is, of course, it's purposely done.
Right?
Because
if you go from I to J, there's no camera on that side.
Right.
But if you go 28 miles an hour, you catch all three lights.
Right.
So you catch I, J, and K.
But that's 28 miles per hour.
At 28 miles an hour. But if you go the other way, right? If you go the other way, you go 36 miles an hour between J and I. You will not catch the light. And the Kings Highway light is a 3
catch the light at Kings Highway.
No, you don't.
No. But you're
So
saying
you see, this is a constant speeder right here.
Kings Highway, right? Hold on. You're saying catching the light at Speed Highway. Yo, John, of course you figured out so far. That's why you ain't getting no ticket.
So let's get on to how young people can teach sons, how fathers can teach sons to do better in driving, man.
Doc, you know, there's so many people who are extremely upset about the 2 and 3 different New Yorks. Because this is ridiculous. The middle class New Yorkers are going to suffer and pay. Look, I didn't want any tickets, boo. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Right? So anyway, Doc, welcome back.
Yeah.
Have you back. And welcome.
Thank you.
So last time we were talking about the role of men in our lives, right?
Wait. Before we do that, people who missed the last time, we need to make sure that they know who our guest is, because maybe they didn't catch last time. So we want to make sure we have a proper introduction for you. So please, that is so important. The last time you broke it down and people who didn't know you found out a lot about you. So the floor is yours.
Why, thank you. Thank you very much. Tyrone Stevenson. I am senior pastor of Hope City Church on the corner of New Lots and Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm the CEO of Hope Empowerment and Development Zone, a 501c3 that's been in existence now for 20 years. Church has 2 locations. This one in East New York, and we have a location that we've been working on in Baldwin, Long Island. And I've written a book. The Day My Daddy Died. I wrote it. I think just before the pandemic. It was an exercise in my mental health, or for my mental health. The way my therapist explained it to me, he says you grow up juggling balls, and as you're juggling the balls, every trauma in your life throws another ball. Every issue throws another ball. There comes a point in everybody's life where you have too many balls to juggle, and there's a breakdown, and the breakdown looks different for everyone. I think he saw it coming from me. He says, well, why don't we just write it all out, get it out of you? And I don't like writing. And so I just kind of wrote a bunch of stuff, and there came the book from somebody who knew how to put it together and censor my thoughts, because a lot of my thoughts were very raw and in your face. So that is who I am.
All right. Well, congratulations, first of all, for writing a book. And we commend you for taking the journey of being a pastor, being a leader in our community. Thank you for speaking up for our gentlemen in the area. And Roderick has been talking nonstop about the book and his experience. So the last time, Pastor, before you go, please say a prayer.
I don't know who this Facebook user is, John, but they're not happy with you. They are not happy with you.
Yeah, that just, I'm like, okay.
Simone, I am the chosen one.
You are the chosen one today. Wow.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, the last time we were having a great conversation and we were talking about therapy. We started off with therapy and how where you ended and the internet went raw is where therapy, you find more of your people coming into your nonprofit instead of going to the church for therapy. So and you were explaining that. So we're gonna go backwards, and if you can explain a little
Hey,
more.
Doc,
of
I got
what
a candidate. I got a candidate for therapy. Her name is Simone. She needs some therapy.
I got a feeling that must be Facebook user.
Yes. She'll even know her name. She calls her Facebook user, aka Simone.
That's funny. Well, the church had the counseling center. We were able to get a state authorized counseling center, but for whatever reason, it had to be through the church. We couldn't put it through our nonprofit. We have not been able to put it through our nonprofit until literally like a year and a half or 2 years ago. And so people were reluctant because the concept that people have is that it would be Christian counseling because it's a church. Trying to help people understand in our community that there is no subset of that's called Christian counseling. It's called counseling. It's therapy. The Christian piece, if you want to add that, has to do with the person's upbringing and how they understand the Word of God and that sort of thing. So that's not what we were doing. Our therapists are licensed therapists. They're not. We don't screen people for religious beliefs or anything like that. And so what we found was when we were able to get, and it might have been also the convergence of COVID and all the things that were going on, that we just got overrun as people started understanding what we were doing, and it was under a different umbrella. It just was housed in the church, meaning we gave the nonprofit space in the church to do that in a private way. And then with COVID, going through the process of being able to do telehealth, which was another huge undertaking. I underestimated what it would take to do it, but then at that point the floodgates opened. We ran out of money because now people could get real counseling. They could be home, and for some reason, from what we have been understanding, and I understand even in my own pastoral counseling, people are so much more open when they're sitting in their living room and talking to you on a computer. And so, we do see a marked difference with it being under a nonprofit as opposed to the church. Yeah.
I would have to agree with you because the thing is, I think just before the pandemic or during the pandemic, I did agree to go to telehealth. I felt it was much more comfortable because traveling to go to therapy is great too, but it's a different space, like you said. So being home, laying on your bed, laying on your couch or whatever, and having that conversation and whatever you want to talk about it's free.
Yeah.
So people are more willing to do that. I know that they have cut the funding, like you mentioned, for more insurance company not to support telehealth, but that is 100% much more easier for individuals who are working. They could be at work and decide, hey, I'm going to reach out to my counselor or whatever. So there's no limitation with that. And trying to get to a physical space is something that might, I hope they reconsider more and more with that.
Yeah. Especially in a place like New York. I mean, it takes 2 hours to get any place here. And then if you let Roderick tell it, it's because of all of the lights. Yeah. So it's very difficult to move around. So we don't want to start that conversation yet. But it's very difficult to move around. And our lives are so busy. It's hard for us to factor back in an hour and a half of travel to go somewhere to get help. And then by the time you get home, an hour and a half back, all of the help you got is gone because you're frustrated and angry. So yeah, that telehealth
that sounds like one of our Facebook users.
No, I love me, Simone. I love you. I love you. Just let him know. Just let him know. Doc, you said something last time that you were here, and I want some clarity, right, to go out, because Dr. Bryant and I and Heathen John over here all agreed on that, what you said, that you touched on it just now briefly. which is there's a difference between going to my pastor for counseling and seeking counsel. So a lot of times the Christians believe that going to my pastor is enough. And I don't need to go into counseling because I'm going to my pastor. Because and I go a little further, and some of them really idiotically believe that it's a demon that's within you, and the pastor needs to pray and cast out this demon. Because, and I think, I don't know if I said it to you or just speaking, but mental health is not necessarily something that you can see.
True.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people think, and that's why sometimes people don't take it seriously. So I want us to go back to that comment, and then we can get a little bit more about the book, The Day My Daddy Died. Right. Yeah. And we could go a little bit more on that. But the question is, can you talk to our listener to let them get an understanding? Because sometimes some people are saying, oh, he's a pastor, is going to have this conversation. He's going to talk about religion and the works of God and blah, blah, blah. But you broke it down differently. So let's talk about that.
The one of the things that I strongly believe, and it is that you cannot cast out human. You can't cast out human. And we have been so religiousized. I won't say Christianized. We've been religiousized to believe that everything can be dealt with in prayer. Now, let me give a caveat. I believe that prayer is a part of the believer's life where you do it consistently as a part of your life. But if in prayer, God doesn't tell you that you need professional help, and everything is fast 25 days and pray for 2 more weeks and do 5 shut-ins. We come across with this idea that mental health is demonic and it can be cast out, and it cannot be, because the truth of the matter is that when I was writing the book, I was preaching, I was teaching, I had finished my master's degree. We opened another location here in Brooklyn. Anybody looking from the outside would be like, man, this guy is killing it. They'd be like, he's killing it. Until they would have to follow me home and watch me sit in front of my house until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. Same man of God, get up Sunday morning, preach the house down, pray, lay hands, people's lives delivered, go home, sit on the couch, stare in one place, go sit in front of my house, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. And prayer wasn't going to fix that because that's not what my problem was. There was some things going on with me. If we think that to talk mental health, especially in the Black community, the community of color, mental health or counseling, and we make it something against God, I would challenge those people to read their Bible. I would challenge them to read their Bible. You can start anywhere you want, but you're going to find that counsel, the Bible says, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. So what is he talking about? When I sit down with 5 of my friends and I'm walking through an issue, I run the risk. I make sure that I'm not getting one idea, which is mine. And when we go through these gyrations that we do, trying to make them spiritual, we really walk away with one idea, which is what we think we ought to do, what we think is happening. And now we then wrongly say we got a word from God. No, you really got a word from yourself. And you said it's God, because if you get around other people who can give you counsel, they could say to you, listen, like one of my friends said to me, said, dude, it's not good that you are functioning on 2 hours of sleep. That's something wrong. He didn't tell me to go pray. He was a pastor. He said, you need to talk to somebody. And in talking, it was amazing. This person they didn't guide my conversation. I just talked about what was in my heart.
Pastor.
And as they talked about what was in my heart, they said, have you ever thought about this? We've got to stop thinking that we have all the answers. We don't.
Simone, you hear this, Simone? He said you got to stop thinking you got all the answers.
This is the arrogance of Christianity. That's what it is. It's the arrogance of Christianity
Now,
that we've been taught to believe that because we have the Bible, we have all the answers, and it's not true. The
so
Bible is true, but
mhm,
the Bible doesn't tell me what to eat for breakfast tomorrow.
mhm.
The Bible doesn't tell me how many hours of sleep I need. The Bible doesn't tell me the difference between a migraine headache and a tension headache. The Bible doesn't even really tell me how do I recognize that I'm depressed and it's not a demon.
But
Elijah wasn't attacked by a demon. He was in depression.
but Pastor, you are correct, because what the Bible does, it establishes a framework
Hmm.
for you to utilize. It provides a framework to be used by your discernment when situations and predicaments arise,
Hmm.
but you can use that as a basis, a foundation,
Yeah.
and all the other teachings that are derived from you learning from it. But when you're in the real realm, it's totally different. But that's why you need that foundation. So that
Hmm.
helps you with your discernment when these situations arise.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying, John, and I hear what.
Uh-oh, here we go.
But I like this. I like this. I like disagreements. That's what I want to hear.
I love it. That's how we
But
learn.
Mhm.
I not sleeping for 2 hours is what, a telltale sign that there's a lot on your mind that you might not want to go to sleep, or maybe you have work to do that you can't fall asleep. In regards to being a framework, yeah, you might be Christian, you might not be Christian. And the thing is, you read the Bible or whatever, but with life. Like you said, you had a friend who said you need to stop and reevaluate and recalculate or whatever. I
Hmm.
might look at the Bible and say, okay, great, that's I hear the pastor or whatever, and I tune right out.
Hmm.
So like you mentioned, you could be in depression but not know that you're in depression. You know,
Absolutely. Most people don't know.
yeah. So
Most people don't know that they're in depression.
mhm. So
Hmm.
what
Simone, you hear that?
so when you have a friend or family member or somebody that you're noticing like telltale signs, they're only sleeping for 2 hours or an hour, they're not going to sleep or whatever, what are some advice you could give to the family or someone else if you notice seeing some strange movements, or they might not think that they need help? How would you go about in helping?
The first thing I would say is you probably can't help them if you don't have a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the challenge. We try to help people that we don't have relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
because in helping people, you're going to have to give some kind of framework, boundaries, rules. We could use that term. And here's a principle that I live by. I recognize with my children. I recognize in everything I've done in my life. Rules without relationship leads to rebellion.
I like
Period.
that. Rules.
Rules without a relationship lead to rebellion. So if I don't have a relationship with you, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to rebel and probably do the opposite of everything you say. If I have a relationship with you,
But
here's what I would
I
do.
have a
I
question
have
though. Let's
conversation.
let's go
Hmm.
back to that same rules without relationship leads to rebellion.
Leads to rebellion.
Though
Yeah.
I like the ideology behind it,
Hmm.
the practicality of it, I'm not sure in agreement with.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
because
and
young people,
right,
you have a
because I know my son, I have a relationship with my son,
Mhm.
but for my son or my children, they sometimes believe that that relationship means that what they want to do, I have to agree with. And if I
Right.
disagree with it,
Hmm.
right, then they're going to rebel
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
do what
Okay.
it is that they believe is the right thing. So I don't know. In theory, it sounds great,
Mhm.
Hmm.
but in practice, I don't know. I think
Okay.
I'm at a question mark.
Great. Let
Yeah.
me give you the praxis for it. I'm an incarnationalist. My theology is incarnationalism. If I can't use it in my life, it means nothing to me. It's the way God's wired me. So here's how I would answer that, because everything for me has to be practically used. It has to be practically usable. Never did I imply that relationship always keeps out rebellion. I am making a statement that for certain 100% that rules without a relationship will lead to rebellion. Because the idea of children, let's use children as an example, it's not the relationship that leads to rebellion. It could very well be, and I don't know about your children, but it could very, very well be. I've noticed this with my children, that there comes a time in their maturation where they actually think they know more than me. It's natural. They actually think they know more than me, and they would probably not call it rebellion. The child wouldn't call it rebellion. Parents call it rebellion. A child would call it doing my own thing, or living my own life, or making my own decisions. That the idea of rebellion is no. I'm not just going to not do what you're saying. I want to destroy anything that lives around what you're saying. So our children, I don't know if I would say that's not rebellion, where a child, no matter what the age is, decides I'm going to do my own thing. I heard what you said. I took in your information. Daddy, you don't agree with me. I don't agree with you. And I'm going to go do this because it's my life. Rebellion would be, you know what, Daddy? You could be right. But guess what? I don't care that you're right. It ain't your life. I do what I want to do. Leave me alone. And if it's wrong, I'll deal with the consequences. Don't worry. I won't come talk to you. I don't come back to your house. That's rebellion. And I would say in that relationship, something has gone wrong, which still leads to that rebellion. So the relationship piece is key. If I have relationship with my daughters who are older, completely different people. Here's what I teach my daughters, and my son actually, who's only 14.
Yeah.
At a certain age, I stopped parenting my children. One of the mistakes that I think we make in parenting is we think because we're parents, we're supposed to parent them for the rest of their life. I don't agree with that. I believe that at an age, we must become coaches to our children and less parents.
Okay.
So it's much harder to rebel against a coach who doesn't have all power, who has the power of suggestion and the power of knowledge, as opposed to I'm God in the flesh, as our children see us when they're young. I'm God in the flesh, and you must do what I say. My children, Imani and Hannah, who are older, 27, 20, and 24, I coach them. I don't tell them what to do. I coach them. And I started coaching them at 16. Because if we're not careful, what we'll do is we'll raise children who don't know how to make decisions. So they'll become adults who don't know how to make good decisions. And so I coach my children. So my children will come to me already knowing there is no expectation that they do what I say. My old daughters. My son, he's in that stage where no, there isn't an expectation. But if I tell you can't go there, that you can't go there, and there's an expectation that you obey that. My daughters, not so much, because that's the nature of our relationship. And so I haven't experienced rebellion with my daughters because they know that there's a safe place where they can tell me whatever they want to tell me about whatever they want to tell me, and they know Daddy's going to coach me with all of his knowledge, his influence, who he is, his position, and Daddy expects that I give weight, which is what I tell them, that you give weight to what I'm saying. Do not hold me in the same level you hold your friends, that you give weight to what I'm saying. And I've never experienced rebellion. Disobedience, absolutely, but not rebellion in my children.
That is an excellent topic. But let's switch right over to the book, The Day My Daddy Died. You published this book, and I told you when I was reading when I was reading it initially, I was like, oh, I know that guy, right? And one of the things, and I asked you this question last time, so I'm going to revisit it. Why do you strongly tell women not to say, and I would also put it to men as well, not to say you're not only that gender parent, but you're also the opposite gender parent as well, right? Why do you think that brings a detriment to the child to make that statement?
Okay. In the book, I bring out an example that I used to hear every Father's Day in church when I was a kid. Every Father's Day in church, because most of the children in the church didn't have a father who lived with them. And so they would bring up the mothers and they would say, you are both mother and father. And even as a child, I would ask myself, and one day I asked out loud, how can you be both? If you can be both, one is not necessary. And so that's the detriment. Because what you're saying, if I'm a father who's a single father and telling my children I am both mother and father, then that child should expect to get everything they would get from two different people with two different worlds and two different genders in one person. And I don't know how you can do that. Because a woman's experience is not a man's experience. My wife, when we had our daughters, she was able to teach our daughters how to get potty trained. We had this conversation at dinner a couple of weeks ago, and my daughters asked the question, well, because my daughters are always competing. I don't pray for me. Everything's a competition. And they were like, well, Daddy, who was harder to potty train? Who was easier to potty train? And I said, oh, Xavier was the easiest one to potty train. And they were like, my brother? Yeah, he potty trained way before both of you in a span of time. And they were like how? I said, because I potty trained him with the way he was going to use the bathroom. I just took some Fruit Loops, I put him in the toilet, and I said, stood him on his little stand, and I said, play shooting games. And he stood at the toilet, and he was doing pee-pee, and he was playing shooting games. When he finished, I shot him all, Daddy, I shot him all.
You did not clog the toilet, Pastor?
Huh?
You didn't clog the toilet?
Clog the toilet? No, I didn't put a bunch of them. I put like 4 or 5. Just, you know what? I put a few. And so right there, why did that instinctively come to me? It was instinctive because I'm a man who was a boy. And what boy doesn't like shooting? What boy doesn't like? So it's instinctive. Now, when I was trying to help my wife potty train my daughters, it was the most frustrating thing in the entire world. And so she said, leave it alone. I got it. And for her, it was not frustrating. Simple example to say that we have to stop pretending like one is not needed. That's why we are where we are in our culture. Now, what did we say 20 years ago? Oh, the black man ain't doing nothing, man. Black man ain't taking care of his children. The black man, oh man, it was horrible. Now you see black men braiding their daughters' hairs, being maternal with their children, hugging and kissing their children. What are they saying now? Oh, he shouldn't be doing that, and you don't need that. All you need is a woman, and she. We have to stop pretending like both are not necessary. So we say to the man, he's not necessary, and then we call on the things that we think he's necessary for. Please don't think that that's not going to give him a complex. So I'm not necessary. I'm not good enough to help raise this child, court system, but I am good enough to keep paying. But I can't see the child. It's a concept that we are perpetrating, and it's damaging children. Because now what are we dealing with? We're dealing with a generation that is completely confused, 100%, totally confused, completely confused, because men are not necessary. or women are unnecessary, depending on what side of the table you sit on.
There's a quote in your book.
Can't hear you, John.
I can't hear you, John.
There's a quote in your book. That's Simone playing games. Let me read it.
A Facebook user. That's Simone. Yeah, go ahead.
It says, if you close your eyes to facts, you will learn through accidents. It is time to break the closed eye culture of denial that breeds accidents and give life to a new one that creates mighty men of valor, fueled by truth. Can you break that down for me?
Okay. This idea, instead of dealing with the problem, let's use the same situation we were talking about. Right. Instead of dealing with the problem that, let's say your father's not in the home. To close my eyes would be to say, you don't need a father. You don't need a father. That would be to close your eyes, which creates another accident. So he goes out, he has sex, and to him, it is just sex. A baby is produced by it, but guess what's in the back of his mind? Baby doesn't need me. Baby doesn't need me. He's not going to say it out loud. Baby doesn't need me because men are not necessary. That's to close your eyes to facts. That was bred in him by his upbringing. To open your eyes to the facts, deal with it, and breed a mighty man of valor would be for that mother, since we're using this example of a single mom and a father, to say to that child, male or female, what happened between me and your father has nothing to do with you. That's open eye. I made a decision and I stick by my decision. That's open eye. You're the best thing that ever came into my life, and I thank God that you were born. That's open eyed. Now, this is a little boy. Let's call it a little boy. You have the potential that you can be a great man. Here's how you be a great man. Keep your word. All the things that she would say in a negative way. Don't be like your no good daddy who don't keep his word. Leave all that negative out. Keep your eyes open. Don't make a mistake. Raise a mighty man of valor. You are going to learn to keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, son, you do it. Put that boy around safe men, because I firmly believe it takes a man to make a man. Now I'm going to get hate mail behind that because I get it all the time, but it is the truth. It takes a man to make a man. I'm not gonna learn how to be a man by someone who has never been a man. You can teach me, mommy, you can teach me how to be the man you want. But it's very difficult for you to teach me how to be a man. The man, not the man you want, but a man. A man.
So, you bring up a very important point. So I'm going to jump in real fast, right?
And then I'm going to jump in after.
All right. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Black women at an astronomical rate are the highest number of single households. They're number one with having children out of wedlock. Number one. I mean, Black women don't like when you say it, but it's a fact. It's a fact, right? They're number one with having multiple baby fathers, right? It's they don't like.
I am not.
I don't know about that.
I want to see the statistics, but okay, the data.
Right?
I would.
Not, wait. Hold on. Let me finish. I'm not saying, right? I'm not saying. I don't know percentage-wise alone, because you do have marriage and divorces, right? So couples do divorce and one parent becomes a single parent, but not necessarily, like you said, that is just for financial purposes only. But let's go back, because many Black women, and before anybody in this audience start jumping on my case, you start reflecting about how many parents start doing the numbers in your head, right? And start thinking about how many of them are married. Not that you don't know any, everybody knows married couple who have children in motherhood, right? How many married couples you know that one or two of their children were born out of wedlock? the reason why I'm bringing that up, I'm not saying it's good. For me, it's bad, right? For me, it's bad, but that's not the point of my comment. The point of my comment has more to do with what do you say to a female, especially a black woman, who's in that predicament when the man is just not around. So one, you touched on it earlier when you start talking about the purpose of a man for financial support, but a lot of black women do avoid that financial stuff. They like, I could do it all by myself. I don't need you. I don't need you. You're just a sperm donor and blah blah blah. You know, all the.
I think it's the females you've been dealing with. A lot of females.
Okay. I think you're in denial, right? It's one thing to be in denial than to actually know data. Again, I ask you.
I want to see the data that you're talking about.
Again, I ask you to look.
Want to see the data.
You're still not listening. I ask you to look at the people around you. Look at 20 people right now, women who are mothers, and think about the number I just said to you. Even within your own family. Look at it. I don't make the exception. Look at the data. I'm sorry, Pastor, but there's one thing that I said to somebody before, and I was actually talking to my aunt, and I said this to her. If something happens to you, it's 100% true. Whatever happens to you is 100% true. But the data might show something different. But if you get mugged on the subway is not safe. No matter that the data tells you that there really is no crime as much on the subway, right? But because it happened to you, you're not going to go on the subway because it's very crime infested. But data shows something different. So all I ask you to do is look at that. But the point of my comment is, when you look at women who are in that boat, who doesn't have the dad in the life, or the deadbeat dad, or the financial dad, or the abusive dad that you don't want around your kid, whatever the reasons why he's not there, right? A lot of those reasons.
And don't forget the widows,
right? But right, whatever the reasons are, right? You're a single parent, but sometimes you say, okay, I'm a single. I don't want no man around my kid because I don't want no man putting their hand for whatever some of the reasons how we met, right? About I don't want nobody messing with my kid. I don't want none of that and that stuff. I don't want you around. So I rather I rather travel the road by myself, right? For some of those reasons. What do you say to that woman who is saying, I am the mother, I am the father, I am the this, I am the that? They are in a position where, because it's 100% for them, that something negative might happen and that trust will never be regained.
Okay.
What do you say to that person?
That's a delicate place. And I explained this because where we met was on a panel of sex trafficking and sexual abuse of children. So I was on this panel, so that's where Roderick and I met. And to this day, because I was sexually abused, to this day, I have a need to know where my son is, even in church. Even in church. So if I don't see my son, and my daughters were the same way when they were younger, if I don't see my children for a little while in church, I am calling to somebody who works with me. Where are my children? Go find them. Let me know where they are. That's a trauma that I experienced, and it's 100% real for me. That was a good one, Roderick. It's 100% real for me. But I had to learn in therapy. And then I took the findings of therapy to prayer. That's how they work together. I had to learn that my personal trauma was stunting the growth of my children. My fears. So it wasn't that anything was wrong with them. I had to get help. I needed to get healing. Because if not, I would be the helicopter parent who couldn't let my children do anything. And so getting that help then helped me to do it in a way that didn't bring as much anxiety for me. It helped me to work through it. And so, example, uh, my son was we bought him a the electric scooter things, and he wanted to it's a couple of years ago. He wanted to be a big boy. He wanted to go around the block on his scooter. Well, he went around the block. The time that I figured to take him to go around the block, and he wasn't back. And so I, was trying to be cool. We had some friends over, and I was trying to be cool. And I'm looking down the block, and he wasn't down. My friends noticed I began to sweat.
Oh boy.
I began to sweat. I picked up my phone, called him. I said, "Hey, buddy, where are you?" And he told me where he was, which was not around the block. I said, "Who's that voice I hear?" And he said, "I'm sorry, what's your name again?" And everything inside of me shut down.
Yeah.
I said, "Son, who are you with?" He says the name. And I said, "Okay, I know the young man, I know the family." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you know his name?" And so now I'm everything at me shut down. I said, "Okay, I need you to come right home. Just tell him that you're coming home. Come straight home. Come right home now." So the time for him to get home, I am physically going through. My heart is pounding. Oh, keep in mind, audience, I am a pastor who leads a pretty large church who has a terminal degree. And none of that mattered in that moment because I immediately imagined my trauma being perpetrated on my son. And that was after therapy. And so that's when I realized, okay, there's some more work I need to do. And I had to work through it. So that mom that you described, mom has to be honest that she needs to heal. And there's nothing wrong with needing healing. We all do.
But also,
because her healing will then be healing for her children, because she has to put that young man around healthy men. It's how he's going to learn. There's some codes, there's some things some nuances that men have. That's how he's going to learn them. If not, he will pick up her nuances. He will pick up her mannerisms. He will, because that's all he's seeing. We have to put him around healthy, and I stress, healthy men in healthy situations. She has to do it. And that means she has to get healed in order for her to do that.
I can add to that. As a mom of two, and
no, we did not know that.
As a mom of two, I am always leery about bringing people around my kids. Period.
But yeah, John, I'm sorry. Explain when you finish. Explain the data when she's finished.
That's fine. As a mom of two, you always want to be, because here it is. I want to protect my son, but I also protect my daughter. It's not only looking at your daughter to protect, but your son, because you don't know who's who nowadays.
You don't know who's who nowadays.
Different facet and different things. And I'll never forget my mom. She mentioned to me years ago, she was like, Joanne, you should wait until your kids get into college to start dating again if you decide to do so. So I am happily divorced. So I have no problem with that. It was a joy that I celebrated when I did get divorced. I went on a nice.
Tell us how you really feel.
So no, my kids were not born out of wedlock or anything to the sort. But I'm funny about who's around my kids. I'm funny about who I put space around. I could be in church, you could be all holier than thou, but I don't know you. I don't know.
Don't know you.
What all type of people that go to church. Not everyone in church are well. A lot of sick people are in church. So yes, if my kids are interested in something, I'm going to build it because I'm going to be right there. And it's not being overprotective. It's just making sure that I know what's happening. Yeah. And yes, because I will give a beat down to anyone who actually tried to do any sort of attack. So that is, but I know when to call my brothers, when to call, hey, a friend of mine, when to call on my co-host to say,
Yeah.
hey, have a conversation with my son.
You
Or
know
have a
when to call
conversation.
on. You know when to call on Juju too.
So, their grandparents are
That's her
always
nickname, by the
there.
way, Doc. Just thought I'd tell.
That's a alter ego.
Oh,
Doc, we're Gemini, so you know how that is.
that's why she looked at you, talk about you can't say that in front of company. She gave you that look, John. She gave you a look.
I
I'm gonna meet up with him. He don't have to
I
worry. I'll
see.
meet up. So not saying, family is great, but you also have to know your family too, because a lot of perpetrators are involved
yes,
in
yes,
family.
Yep.
yes.
So
And
yes,
so
my grandparents, because I am Haitian, and because we believe that the type of Haitian people we believe in raising our kids as a collective. So it's
Mhm.
always multiple eyes. Auntie is over there, grandma's over there, a grandpa, auntie, so many hands make it light to raise up your children
But you
the
got to
right.
watch those many hands too.
Yeah.
Well, the hands, if it's my brother, I know who it is. If it's my sister, I know who it is. My grandparents, I know who it is. My parents, yes, but not everybody is taking my
Yeah, it
kids
can't be.
anywhere.
It
Mm-mm.
can't be. We made a decision when our children were young. We made a decision to make our home the fun home.
Mm.
So instead of oh, daddy, I want to go spend the night at so and so house.
Hmm.
No, all their
That's how
friends
I
wanted to
grew
spend
up.
the night.
Yes,
They want to spend the night at our house.
yes.
We just the fun. We're gonna be the fun home because my mama doesn't believe in that spend the night at house. My mother, oh
Hmm.
no, my
I
mother did
agree.
not believe in that at all. And I get it and I understand. And so a lot of the trauma, my mom, my daughters when they were young, this is something I learned from a man in my village because I've always been connected to men. I always look for men who are going where I want to go, and I pick their brain. And so there was a man. His name is Pete. Pete passed away as a result of COVID, and it was very very difficult for me because he's. I think Pete might actually be in the book. Um, and so Pete became this guy. Pete was a big muscular guy who would cry at the drop of a hat.
Mm.
And he had 5 daughters, and so when we had our first daughter, I'm like, well, Pete, he said, well, you gotta love her, man. You gotta love your daughter. And he said, so I went over his house one day, and I saw his daughter, who at that time was probably 10, sit on his lap, and I was like, uh, because where I come from, what? My mother would have a cow. So I talked to Pete about it later. And Pete said, here's what he said to me: everything I want my daughters to learn about appropriate and inappropriate when it comes to men, it is my job to teach them.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was life changing for me. And so Pete was the man who taught me how to be affectionate with my daughters. So to this day, my daughters are 24 and 20, 27 and 24. And this
One had
morning,
a birthday. Did
yeah,
one have a birthday?
Hannah just had a birthday in June,
Okay.
and Imani has a birthday in September. So just this morning, my wife and I are laying in the bed, and she's about to leave to go to work, and she just came into our room, knocked on the door, came into our room, and just, Daddy, move over. I'm like, what? And she's fully dressed, ready to go, and just laid in the bed next to us. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? I know you want something. What do you want? She said, no, I don't want anything. I just know that I'm safe here. I almost cried. Because there was something that I instilled years ago against my mother's wishes.
Pastor, I wanted you. You just said that's correct because I remember, you know, um, you know, may she rest in peace, my mother. And I would always tell everybody that, you know, I'm a grown man, elected official, lawyer, the whole 9 yards, 37, 38 years old, and my mother's in the bed. I would crawl in the bed and lay up under my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And, she would, just embrace me. And, I can just be there and just, she said,
Yeah,
you'll be all right, man. You'll be all right.
and it's enough to. it's enough to take you for 5 years because it's unconditional. It's
definitely
pure love.
Pure
I
love.
can be right or wrong, and for me, that was what I was giving my daughters. Now,
That's-
had I followed my mother's upbringing, I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have that connection with my daughters because my mother believed that at a certain age, my daughters should be turned over to my wife and my hands off.
You know,
I guess I guess Doc, could you just go into like tell us about that day that was the day your father died?
Okay. And most people, not until the end of the book do they get it that my father just died 2 years ago. Actually, a little over a year ago. I was 13 years old, and that's back in the day where the skating rink. So Empire. So the skating rink. That's where it was going down.
4 wheels or the 2 wheels? The 4 wheels. I don't remember.
Bro, 4 wheels.
Yeah, oh, that's what I'm talking about. All right.
That's that old school 4 wheels. And so everybody on my block was going skating. And so, that's where the girls are going to be. All your friends are there. And I want to go skating so bad.
I'm going to tell you
I never get to go any place. I want to go skating. My wife knows. She recognizes. I don't get to go skating. So everybody's ready. I get my stuff together and we're going, because that's when blocks went as like family. Remember that? When everybody went and so mama was going and daddy.
And your friends are going.
Block, all the kids. And so I get there and my mother says to me, she says, "Oh, you can't go. Your father's coming to see you." I said to my mother, I was 13 years old. I said, "Mom, my dad always says he's coming and he doesn't come. I want to go." She said, "No, your father's coming to see you. You cannot go." I watched everybody leave. I'm sitting on the porch and, I am steaming. An hour passed, 2 hours, 3 hours. Boom, 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 boom. Time passes. He doesn't show up. I lost it. Now, I'm a 13-year-old boy raised by my very, very, very strong mother. My mother's she was very, very strong.
What was she Guyanese?
She was
wait, before you answer that, it's a running joke in the studio because John's mom and dad believe in the immortal belt. My parents did too, but it went down. I don't know if mine was worse than yours, John. I don't know. But Joanne is as parents, we go in that order.
Yeah,
my mom making the nation.
My mom is from South Carolina, and
my mother too, South Carolina. And
she might have all your parents beat. Yes, Lord. When it comes to that, my mother had a PhD in whipping.
My parents
go
too.
get that
Don't
switch.
Get
go get that switch off that.
Get that switch.
And don't bring me the. And don't be the
it became soft over years.
Oh yeah, my mother was something, and so I said to and I lost it. I started screaming at my mother at the top of my lungs. I'm angry. I go into the bathroom and I slam the door and I'm kicking the door. I now know later, many years later, 15 years later, that I had a mental breakdown. I remember everything was black. It was horrible. I am in the bathroom. I'm sweating. I'm crying. I'm kicking the walls. I'm punching walls. I remember opening the medicine cabinet and there was some aspirin. I'm grinding up the aspirin to try to snort it to see if it would kill me. I wanted to die. I was it was the most rejection I felt in my entire life. Everything fell apart. Here's where my father died.
You can really have.
Yeah, here's where my father died. I was sitting on the floor. I was probably in the bathroom for a couple of hours. I finally calmed down and I stand up off the floor and I look in the mirror. I'm sweating. My face is red. I'm a dark brother. So imagine my face is red. My eyes are red like fire. Tears, snot, everything. I looked in the mirror. And I said to the person on the other side of that mirror, which was me, I said, "Today is the last day you ever want anybody who doesn't want you." I wiped my face. I walked out of the bathroom like nothing happened. My mother was sitting in the corner scared. I'd never seen my mother scared. She just staring at me because she never seen me respond that way. I was the quiet kid. My sisters were off the chain. I was the quiet one. I come out the bathroom. I literally said, "What's for dinner?" A part of me emotionally died in that moment.
Mhm.
And to this day, I just celebrated my 53rd birthday 2 Sundays ago. 53rd birthday 2 Sundays ago. Thank you so much. And to this day, my therapist can track many of my relational problems to that moment. If you ever, I've gotten better, but just imagine from 13 to, I probably didn't make any real changes in my life around this until I was about 30. From 13 until about 30, if you ever made me think that you didn't want me or I needed to prove something to you, I would cuss you. I'm a pastor. I'd cuss you to your face and I would cut you off, and it was as if you never existed. Real story. Never told this story out loud, I don't think. I was engaged to a woman. This is during that season. I was in the military. I was engaged. She did something that was just left field to me. Left field. I incorporated it as, "Oh, you don't really want me." The 13-year-old boy stood up, and I just simply said, "You can keep the ring, keep everything." I walked out. She never saw me again. I had the ability to sever relationships without any emotional pain. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what our relationship was. We could have been friends for 10, 15 years. I could sever the relationship and have no qualms about it. I thought that was a part of my power. It helped me in corporate America. It helped me succeed. But right around 30, that thing started killing me. I could not build relationships because you only had one chance to mess up. Everybody was being buried like my father. That was the day my father died, and I did not have a talking relationship with my father. The best talking relationship we've had was, my dad was probably 80 when we sat down and had a conversation. And my dad died at 92. And we may have had a few conversations in there. I embraced that what he was giving me was the best he could give me. We could never have a better relationship than what we had in that moment. And I thank God for it, and I moved on. But at 13, I buried him. And my mother, when I got married to Terry, I'm married 29 years. When I got married, my mother, with tears, she cried to convince me to invite my father. The only reason my father was at my wedding, the only reason my father was part of anything in my life from 13, my mother made it happen. She made it happen. And when he came to my wedding, and I was like, "Hi." That was it. It then began to ripple into my entire life. The truth of the matter is, if we trace back, there's a trauma. If we look at who we really are, there is a trauma that if we don't deal with it, it deals with us. That thing began to deal with me and destroy my life.
I think I'm gonna make a confession.
That's good.
I'm gonna make a confession, Pastor. So my father.
Here we go.
No, I think right. No, I think I might have to deal with it. So I'm gonna actually talk about it. My biological father, when I was 7 years old, is the first time that I met him. Biological. I don't own my biological father. Like, we have a relationship now, and I didn't have that until I was 32. So from 7 to 32. So I don't know how many years that is because I'm not doing the math in my head. 25 years. And then I told my mother that I was willing to look for him and have that relationship. And what's interesting about it, it was over clothes. And I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was an abused child growing up, very abused. As a matter of fact, the person who raised me, when she died, my mother knew not to even call me and tell me she's dead because I wasn't going to the funeral. I've shared, and I think I might have shared even when I was doing the panel, that the only abuse I did not see in life was the one you went through.
Yeah, you did say that.
And drugs. He was just told to get me uniform for school. And because I do not have his last name, he never owned me. Never. Right? And my mother was like your mother, is always insistent to help him. And in some ways, my wife is allowed to do anything she wants to do. I mean, I don't want to use the word is allowed. I think when you say that, people get upset, like I'm giving her, like she's grown, right, and her permission, but it's my father. Yeah, I guess that's the point, right? And so if I'm not, whatever, really, you can't make me have a relationship, but she is allowed to do anything that he needs or requires. But I'm listening to your story and I'm wondering,
wow,
what exactly is but I do own my two sisters, because he has two other children beside myself, and I actually own my sisters. And I'm just wondering, what is that stumbling block? I knew that my mother said to him, buy me uniform. And I was at 7. I always say to people, when you're 4 foot nothing and somebody's 6'8", they look like a giant, or 5'8" because you're so short. They look like you're climbing Mount Everest. So these people are like, and I'm like, I meet my father and I'm going to not suffer the anguish, because I recognized, trust me, I recognized where I was. I mean, when in 1977, I was 5 years old, and I could actually remember when my mother came to Jamaica the first time and what that lady did. And, because now she recognized that somebody was coming, and she told me to go change my clothes and put on something appropriate. So if you can tell me that you actually knew that what you're putting me in was an and I remember it from 5. Right?
Yeah.
My kids don't remember anything because they have not really had anything traumatic. Right? Because most of the time you remember trauma, not necessarily,
that's right,
positive or negative. So I don't know. As you're saying that, it lends to my confession. I think that is where I drew the line. Like, I'm like, if you can't even take a moment to buy me an outfit when you know I needed it. Thank you, my brother. That's my brother, right? That buy me an outfit when you really need it. What is your purpose? What is your role? So when my stepfather embraced me, I had no need for any other father. Right? And so my stepfather is my father. So anybody knows me, you talk to me, talk about my dad, you know who I'm talking about. Right? As bad behaving as my mother said I was, because I was never bad behaving.
What?
But she said I was. My dad took me.
Oh my God. You can tell.
You understand what I'm saying? And so I think as I'm hearing your story, I do have some things I need to work on.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that. And my hope and prayer is that you follow through on it. Because it was destroying me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was destroying me. And it took me such a long time because I was so opposed to therapy at those ages, 20 and 25. And I was so against it. I never traced it back. I never traced it to that moment. I never traced it to my father, because for me, it was, a man said to me, an old man said to me one day in Baltimore, Maryland. He said, "Son, I don't know you, but I've been listening to you talk." He said, "Most men are either living up to their father's reputation or trying to live it down. Which one are you doing?" He doesn't know me from Adam. I was like, what? He says, most men are trying to live up to their father's reputation or live it down. Which one are you doing now?
Live it down is for me.
And I was, and I was like, okay, whatever this dude. And it haunted me for years. And really, at that moment, I'm like, I'm trying to live it down. Then I started putting together the pieces. Before because I was a pastor, I was a banker. Then I started putting together the pieces of this ambition I had, because I want to make sure you see that I'm successful. I want to make sure you see that I have money. I want to make sure you see that I can do all these things, because I'm living down your reputation. And it was destroying me. It was absolutely destroying me. So on the one hand, I was using it as fuel to succeed in the secular world, which I did. But man, when I finally got what everybody said you're supposed to be working for, and I finally got it, and I went home and cried, and my wife comes home. We didn't even have children yet. And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I handed her my check. That's the back in the days, you got the paper check. I handed her my check, and my check was larger than most people's yearly salary. She said, "Well, what are you crying for?" And I said, "I thought when I got here, I would feel something different."
Got you. Makes sense.
And that's really what put me on the road to say, okay, something's wrong with me. And still, because I've done everything, that my father couldn't do. I take care of my mother in the ways you couldn't take care of your wife now. So in my mind, he's done. He's finished. Every boy wants to be his father in some degree, in some perspective, in something. He wants to be his father. And if we're not careful, we will project our pain onto our children. Unaware, we won't recognize it. It might be pain and trauma. It might be being overbearing. It might be not giving them attention they need. It might be saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to make you soft," and not giving them loving. It might be something. And if we deal with it, I have found that mine always traces back to my father. So if you look at the subtitle of the book, it's Learning to Be What You Didn't See. It's right in the top. And I probably should have made it bigger. Learning to Be What You Didn't See.
Before you say anything, Roger, I want you to pay attention to what you said not too long ago. If he could not provide a uniform for you, why do you need him? So a lot of females who are angry, who fathers, in regards to their children's father, who are not responding, who don't want to be involved, they feel the same way you do. So I want you to keep that in mind.
So I don't want to belabor it a little bit, because I know that we have to wrap up. My last name is Daly. His last name is Parkinson.
But I want you to think.
No, I'm answering you a little bit, right? So I just want you to just hear the answer for a little bit. As a man, that emotional component, or you're frozen, Joanne. As a man, that emotional component came into play. If Roderick I was born out of wedlock, right? So if Roderick is my child, why is Roderick not either having my last name or his mother's last name? Why does he have some other man's last name? So it's not just a uniform, it's also his psychological, emotional attachment to who I am.
The uniform was just a material thing. It was the material piece that drove it together.
Right. Yeah. And so that was part of that conversation. So it wasn't just his reasoning is different from my understanding. At least it's 7. And and that was it. But John, you had a comment.
My comment is my trauma was a lot of inflicted because my father was a strict disciplinarian. He believed in excellent provider, but lacked giving any sort of emotional support. And, I think that, I am myself sometimes or most of the time is emotionless on certain things that I developed for him in a way to protect myself from. I'm very sensitive, but I try to be emotionless to protect myself. I think that comes from a lot of my father not showing me the physical love or saying I love you. I think my father told me that he loved me. I was in my late 30s, but his love was manifested in other ways, meaning making sure there was food on the table, roof over my head, making sure that I had money to go to school or whatever. He was the consummate, when it comes to Caribbean men, providers. No emotional support. I will support you every which way, but except when it comes to emotion.
Yeah, that and it's amazing when I have these conversations and I talk to men. It doesn't matter what they've accomplished. It doesn't matter what they've done in life. There's always this thing that they can pick up and say, "But this right here, how do I deal with it?" I have a friend who's a psychotherapist who actually helped me in the beginning parts of this, and he taught me this truth that really has helped to shape my world. He said, "Tyrone, children are great recorders, terrible interpreters." Great recorders.
I like that.
Terrible interpreters.
And
he said, so as a child, you recorded everything, but you did not have the ability to interpret what you were recording. So you put your own definitions to what you really didn't understand.
Yep.
I just want to thank you, Dr. Tyrone, from the book, The Day My Daddy Died. Is an easy read, great read. Why Men Are Important. Got a couple of us up here, myself and not Dr. Bryant, because she's a tough cookie. You can't crack her, right? But got us thinking as men. Are we up now? Because I want them to see the cover of the book. Up or down, right? Or are you trying to live up to your father or live down to your father? Fathers, why are you so important? Ladies, go out there, talk to those men and explain to them, right, the role that they have to play in their children's life, the men, that is. So whatever your relationship is with that man, doesn't matter, is what the relationship is with the child. Of course, not to put yourself in harm's way. God bless you, Father, and thank you so much for joining us today. As we go out and get the book. Where can they get the book?
You can get on Amazon. So Amazon.com. It's also an ebook, so you can go to Amazon and download it quickly, or Amazon and get it tomorrow.
All right, awesome. So look forward to let's hear about it when you have taken a look at the book, The Day My Father Died. Very, very easy read, and it's not a long read either. I believe it's about 75 pages.
It actually won an award from Amazon for being a quick read. I didn't know there was a such thing. Because it's a 45-minute read, and so it won an award as one of the best quick reads that was selling during that time. So I didn't know there was a such thing.
Doc, my brother, who's a principal, says have the doc connect with some local schools this coming school year. He has a lot to impart. So
tell him to help me out. Tell him to help me do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to connect with schools. I'd love to. So if he would help me, I'd be more than happy to do anything I can to help the next generation.
Let me see. Okay. So what I'll do, with his permission, I'll try to connect you through him. I give you his. I think it's J Cameron, just his name. So J Cameron.
You can send it to him. Email it to him.
I'll send it to him.
Okay.
Do that.
I appreciate it.
And I'll share your information with some other people as well.
God bless.
Thank you.
Wait. How can people reach you? You didn't let
I'm sorry. My bad.
Besides Amazon, how can they reach you?
I'm on Instagram, the Tyrone Stevenson, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter as the Tyrone Stevenson, just my name, and you can reach me that way. I'm not that much into social media. I'm getting better, but I do keep my presence up, and I do have people that help me to get that done. So that's a great way to reach me.
You know, I just thought of somebody I could introduce you. Cameron, what do you think of Dr. Patterson? Maybe that's somebody with my brother's keepers conference. Right, that's something that might be. We'll talk off the air.
Thanks so much.
Okay, I'd love to.
Andre would email you my phone number so we can talk off the air.
We're gonna follow up and make some connection. Thank you.
I got it.
Thank you,
John. It's good to see you. Give John my number.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be around, Pastor.
Give John my number.
I will do. Will do. Yeah. That's what I was saying, Cameron, with the MBK. All right, awesome. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
God bless, and until next time.
God
Ladies
bless
and
you.
gentlemen, thank you for watching, viewing, listening, sharing, subscribing to our radio show and our YouTube channel at the Village Radio Talk Show. You could join us on Instagram at Roderick Daily The Village. Am I correct? Roderick Daily _ The Village. Talk to our host and hostess, John and Joanne, and all of our guests. And if you missed the show, just go back on our YouTube channel and share it. The Village Radio Talk Show. Happy birthday to Dr. Bryant. No, I'm sorry, not Dr. Bryant. I don't know why you're on my mind, Dr. Bryant. Happy birthday to my friend Janella Hines on her birthday on Sunday. To my cousin who's turning 60, Dawn Richards, on Sunday. And looking forward to any of you that's out there who's gonna make it to the award on the boat ride on Sunday. Thank you, John, for sponsoring 2 tickets. So I appreciate that. God bless, and everyone, enjoy your weekend.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.